Buenos días, colegas de México y de las Américas. Mi nombre es Gustavo Daneman, soy director ejecutivo de ProNatura Noroeste y en nombre de nuestra organización y de nuestros socios y patrocinadores les doy la bienvenida a este primer taller sobre tecnología Motus en América Latina. ProNatura Noroeste implementa en el noroeste de México la estrategia de conservación de aves playeras en el Pacífico de las Américas. Si bien una parte fundamental de esta estrategia reside en el trabajo que se lleva a cabo en los sitios prioritarios para la conservación de este grupo de aves, la condición migratoria de las aves playeras pone de manifiesto la importancia de la colaboración y la coordinación de esfuerzos a nivel nacional e internacional. Esto es aplicable no solo para las aves playeras, sino para todas las aves y otros animales que llevan a cabo migraciones de gran escala, tanto en ámbitos costeros como en los diversos corredores migratorios del continente. En este sentido, hemos incorporado en nuestro programa de conservación de aves el uso de la tecnología Motus, que como comentaremos en este taller, es una herramienta tecnológica costo efectiva y costo eficiente para generar, ligar y analizar datos sobre especies migratorias en una escala continental y con grandes beneficios y utilidades para todos los participantes. Celebro entonces su participación en este evento, que esperamos sea el inicio de la expansión y fortalecimiento de esta iniciativa en México y en América Latina. Sin más, cedo la palabra a Julián García, colaborador de ProNatura Noroeste y promotor y coordinador de esta iniciativa. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Gustavo. Y bueno, hoy les queremos presentar unas pláticas súper interesantes con unos panelistas estrellas que tenemos realmente desde Canadá hasta Colombia. Entonces, este webinar es para ustedes. Quisiera comentarles algunos tips para que disfruten este webinar de la mejor manera posible. Sé que tenemos personas de muchas partes del mundo, muchos países de América Latina, inclusive de Canadá y Estados Unidos. Entonces, el lenguaje principal es español, pero si hablas inglés y a lo mejor el español no está muy bien contigo, pues entonces algunas charlas van a estar en inglés con subtítulos en español. Entonces, tratamos de ser lo más inclusivos posibles, ¿no? La duración del webinar son 2 horas de charlas con 30 minutos de preguntas y respuestas al final. Entonces, es un webinar con bastante información. Entonces, si necesitas un break, pues está bien. Puedes ir por tu tacita de café, puedes ir al baño. No te preocupes porque el webinar va a ser grabado y va a ser compartido con todos ustedes en unos días después del webinar, ¿sí? Entonces, para manejar las preguntas y respuestas, quisiéramos primero dar las charlas y luego, si ustedes tienen preguntas en cualquier momento, ustedes pueden utilizar la cajita de Q&A o de preguntas y respuestas y en cualquier momento pueden poner sus preguntas. Tienen ustedes 2 opciones. Pueden darle like a una pregunta y entre más likes tenga, entonces a lo mejor nos podemos enfocar en contestar esas preguntas al final o los panelistas van a intentar, en la medida posible, contestar sus preguntas en tiempo real por escrito, ¿sí? Si tienen un comentario diferente a las preguntas, entonces lo pueden poner en el chat, ¿sí? Ahora, si quieren compartir este webinar ahorita mismo, estamos en vivo en Facebook Live y pueden compartir también en Twitter. El Facebook Live está en ProNatura Noroeste y el Twitter, pues estos son los hashtags que estamos utilizando. Así que, sin más, continuamos con el webinar. Les cuento un poquito sobre lo que vamos a estar cubriendo en estas 2 horas. Este webinar está dividido en 2 partes. La primera parte son lo que le llamamos los básicos de Motus, ¿no? Y entonces, Stu Mackenzie de Bird Studies Canada nos va a platicar en inglés, pero con subtítulos en español, cuál es su potencial para la conservación y para la investigación y qué es esto de Motus, ¿no? Es una muy, muy buena introducción. Luego seguimos conmigo, Julián García Walter, donde les voy a estar platicando mi opinión y mis perspectivas respecto a cómo vamos en Latinoamérica con respecto a la red Motus y cómo podemos expandirla de forma colaborativa. Luego, la parte medular de este webinar es esta tercera plática que va a ser dada por los expertos Matt Webb y Erin Strasser. Y realmente vamos a tocar todo lo esencial sobre el equipo, los transmisores, las antenas, el mantenimiento, etcétera, ¿sí? Entonces, esto es súper importante que si quieren instalar una estación, que se queden en esta plática. Luego, el segundo bloque de pláticas son las perspectivas. Reconocemos que trabajar con Motus en diferentes ambientes presenta retos y oportunidades distintas. Entonces, Amy McDonald nos cuenta sobre cómo trabajar con motus en ecosistemas costeros para rastrear aves playeras. Luego, Erin de nuevo nos platica sobre su iniciativa de pastizales y desiertos en México y en Estados Unidos. Y finalmente brincamos hasta Colombia con Nick Bailey y Ana María González, que sustituyen a Ángela Caguamanzo y nos van a estar platicando de unos resultados impresionantes que están teniendo en las selvas de Colombia. Bueno, sin más, los dejo con Stu Mackenzie, que nos pasó su grabación y yo le puse los subtítulos, así que empezamos.
Buen días, mi nombre es Stu Mackenzie. Soy el director de Ecología Migratoria en Birds Canada. Es un placer hablar hoy con ustedes. Desafortunadamente, pero para su beneficio, el resto de mi presentación será en inglés. Un momento, por favor. First off, I'd like to thank you all for joining us, and thank you to Julian for coordinating this effort and bringing us all together, and particularly for his initiative. That really is step one in furthering our efforts for Motus and for conservation throughout the Neotropics is communicating. First and foremost, it's important for us to realize that all of these technologies that are being used to study migratory animals are complementary. My presentation now is going to be sort of talking about the Motus angle of that and giving you an overview of how Motus works, some examples of the types of data that we collect, how the system is organized, and then hopefully how we can all work together to move it forward. So at its highest level, Motus is a collaborative research network that uses automated radio telemetry to facilitate the research and education on the ecology and conservation of migratory animals. And how we do that is through automated radio telemetry, but with a collaborative twist. So radio telemetry has been around for 50 or 60 years, but the technology has still advanced quite a lot. Motus utilizes the smallest available technology for tracking most animals, so the radio tags are down to 0.1, 0.2 grams, which allow us to tag just about any bird, most bats, and even species like monarch butterflies and darner dragonflies. The stations that we use monitor the airspace continuously. They have a large detection distance and a relatively high geographic precision, extremely high temporal precision as the tags repeat themselves every 2, 5, 10 seconds. There's no need to recapture any of the individuals. All of the data is centrally managed, and we have multiple technology partners all working together to deliver. There are many nuances to Motus and the types of equipment you use. I encourage anybody wanting to get involved to explore the website at length, particularly the resources section and the station and tag selection guide. Motus tags include tags on specified frequencies that are from low-tech wireless, nanotags, or cellular tracking technology, life and power tags. And then the receivers, compatible receivers are sensor nomes, CTT sensor stations, or the low-tech SRX series. And the cost for each station, depending on how serious you want to get, is in the $4,000 to $10,000 range, and each tag's about $200. Now, to save myself a little bit of breath and give everybody something prettier to look at than me, I'm going to let Ana Gonzalez take us on a little tour of Motus.
Las aves tienen el poder de tocar nuestro corazón con su belleza y sus cantos, de sorprendernos y fascinarnos con su comportamiento, de inspirarnos con sus increíbles hazañas de fuerza y resistencia. Cada año muchas aves migran miles de kilómetros bajo desafiantes condiciones. Las aves juegan roles críticos en nuestros ecosistemas. Polinizan plantas, dispersan semillas y ayudan a controlar los insectos. Las aves también son valiosas indicadoras de cambio. Muchas poblaciones han estado disminuyendo seriamente por décadas, y 1/3 de las especies de aves de Norteamérica necesitan medidas urgentes de conservación para evitar su extinción. Tenemos que actuar ahora para proteger los hábitats y los ecosistemas que mantienen la vida en la Tierra. ¿Pero cómo? Los científicos deben descifrar los misterios de las aves migratorias y estudiar sus movimientos en los territorios de reproducción, a lo largo de las rutas migratorias y en sus áreas de invernada. El sistema de monitoreo de vida silvestre Motus Usa pequeños dispositivos de rastreo y una red de cientos de estaciones receptoras localizadas estratégicamente a través del hemisferio occidental. Motus está produciendo descubrimientos espectaculares. Ahora los investigadores pueden rastrear los movimientos de las aves a través de grandes distancias y con increíble detalle, lo cual permite determinar con precisión las mayores amenazas para las especies vulnerables. Los resultados nos ayudan a identificar prioridades de conservación y a dirigir esfuerzos y financiación para un máximo impacto. Te invitamos a participar. Tú nos puedes ayudar a conservar las poblaciones de aves y sus hábitats y a garantizar ambientes saludables para la vida silvestre y para la gente. Con tu apoyo, nosotros tenemos el poder de hacer una gran diferencia.
Thank you, Anna. So to repeat, Motus is based on the collaborative efforts of everyone involved, the researchers tagging animals, the animals themselves that fly around the world and they're detected by the network of receiving stations. It's all fed into our centralized database where the information is then disseminated back to the researchers, made available through our public interface, coordinated with other repositories such as MoveBank. And of course, this is all to feed conservation science, whether it's basic discovery, informing policy and management decisions, public education, and then conservation action. These are just some examples of Motus stations. We've put them on just about everything we can think of, from bamboo poles to heavy-duty towers to buildings to trees. This is in Bahia Lomas in Chile and the Andes in Colombia. This is just down the road from me in southern Ontario and then coastal Nova Scotia. And we started with one station or no stations, and we've grown quite significantly. You'll notice most of the stations are still concentrated in the Northeast, but we are expanding quite aggressively in the West. And when I say we, I mean everybody, us. We're expanding the effort. Speaking now about what's happening in the neotropics, obviously, we have a fairly active array and research going on in Europe and a couple projects in Australia as well. And as such, the size of the database and the detections have grown substantially, almost exponentially. We have close to 1.5 billion detections in the database now, which creates many challenges, but mostly opportunity as we move forward to share results and get the greatest value for conservation. So I'm going to very quickly gloss over sort of the data that we can collect with Motus and some examples. This is Long Point in southern Ontario. And some of the early work that done with Motus was that we set up a local array on Long Point to determine how long birds were staying at any of our specific research sites on the point when they decided to leave or move between locations. So this is kind of a very local or regional array, which allowed us to detect individuals within a roughly 900 square kilometers. And when you zoom in on sort of the life history of a bird just at one location, you can get really fine scale information about what they're doing, their activities. This is time over the course of 24 hours, and each of these panels is a different antenna at different sites. But most importantly to understand is that we can tell when birds are active and feeding. We can tell when they're resting or sleeping. This is sunset before the birds go to rest. This is sunrise before they wake up. And then when you zoom in on a flight, you can actually see when they take flight, and you can tell when they decide to go on a flight and how long it takes them to fly from point A to point B to point C, and what direction that they were traveling. So, and that has great implications. This is just another example of direction of flight. In this case, each antenna is a different color. Bird's resting, decides to wake up and embark on a migratory flight. And as it leaves a single station, it was last detected on these two antennas. We take the average of those, and it probably left around about the southerly direction. And you can scale up even farther. Direct line distance between the Bruce Peninsula and Long Point here is about 600 kilometers. And you can see how birds are moving at a regional level and get an idea of speed and routes and preferences, such in this case as the Niagara Escarpment, which is a very significant landform in the province. Slower moving birds are stopping over somewhere. Fast moving birds are just embarking on a single flight. We can scale up yet again even farther and understand how birds are behaving at a hemispheric level and the implications of the departure location, in this case wintering sites or stopover sites, and how that influences their behavior throughout the entire hemisphere. And this is data from a paper just published by Ana Gonzalez in Journal of Animal Ecology. Likewise, here's an example again of Anna's thrushes, followed shortly thereafter by gray-cheeked thrushes for Camila Gomez et al. And theoretically, we predicted earlier that gray-cheeked thrushes could cross the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico in one flight, but here using Motus, we confirmed that they actually do, and we received many detections throughout the array further on. So usually between 40 and 60% of birds tagged in the neotropics have been detected elsewhere in North America. This paper led us to determine that both the pace and the distance flown for birds is largely determined by the amount of fueling that they do on stopover, particularly in this case in northern Colombia. And the Santa Marta Mountains in Colombia here also just happen to be one of the most biodiverse regions on the planet. So from a bang for the buck scenario, it's a very good investment. So what we've built and what we're building, what we're talking about today, is sort of the perfect example of community science. We have a community of researchers, practitioners, of educators, and nonprofits, government agencies, and academia, all working together, often without really knowing each other or even communicating with each other. And we've deployed over 1,000 stations around 31 countries, have over 25,000 individuals tagged of more than 200 species. And then so far in just our short time of well over 100 publications and more coming out every week. There is extraordinary opportunities to inform local management decisions and the bringing together of many local and international conservation groups and funders to answer local questions. And this is an example of studying red knots at their prime overwintering site in Bahia Lomas to determine habitat preferences and where they spend the majority of their time during the winter months. And we can push that one step farther and apply that to how they're embarking similarly on hemispheric journeys and the implications of overwintering conditions on their entire journey. And we've also started to put together education portals to digest and present the data in a better manner, both for students, but for the public in general. So through the education portal, schools, where we have about a dozen stations on schools, nature centers, or any station where you require a bit more digested information in a pleasing manner. These are just prototypes that we're developing as we go, along with case studies for a number of species that complement the data that you can find on the website as well. And these can be built for pretty much any species in any area by anyone. It's just, we just have a few examples ready at the moment. And importantly, we need to understand and work together, and it's sort of one of the whole purposes is to feed bird conservation and halt or reverse declines like we're seeing in North America with 3 billion birds lost since 1970. This pattern, this trend is probably no different for birds in the neotropics or South America. So it's just as valid no matter where you are in the world. And as we're planning for Motus and thinking about how to embark on these collaborative endeavors, it's important to break Motus down into its parts. We sort of joke that Motus is a bit of a beast or a bear, and there's the needs and the contributions that collaborators and projects make, the animals themselves and the methods that we use to study them. There's the infrastructure that we have to build and maintain and develop. There's the whole public education side, the development of the technology, and then of course all of the conservation science applications that require communication, collaboration, and a strategy moving forward that I hope we can discuss in more detail in the coming months. And with that, I'm over time. I've rushed way too much, but hopefully you sort of got the gist of it. Feel free to contact us on the website. There's lots of information. There's a Google group discussion group, which answers lots of questions and has some great discussion and information sharing. All of our resources on the website, and feel free to contact us at motus@birdscanada.org or contact me personally at any time if you have any questions. And with that, I'll leave you with a Canada warbler, leaving Colombia. And muchas gracias. Salud.
Muchas gracias, Stu. Stu va a estar con nosotros en la sesión de preguntas y respuestas, así que por favor pongan sus preguntas. Si pueden en inglés, mejor, pero si no, no se preocupen, las traduciremos. Una fantástica presentación con potencial increíble. Y ahora yo quiero platicarles mi propia experiencia.
En el siguiente módulo, expansión de la red Motus en América Latina, uniendo esfuerzos a través del continente para estudiar y conservar la biodiversidad, impartido por Julián García Water. Y quiero instalar una estación Motus, ¿ahora qué? Fundamento de equipo de Motus, transmisores, instalación y mantenimiento de estaciones, impartido por Erin Stracer y Matthew Webb.